Hi, my name is Leah Day, and welcome to this video for the free Motion Quilting Project. For the past several videos, we've been working on Express Your Love, a goddess quilt created for 2013. Well, I reached a point with that quilt, playing with lots of different filler designs, and I just dyed this whole cloth, Duchess Reigns, and I've decided that I really want to demonstrate some fills on this quilt. It's a little bit different. There's trapunto on this quilt. It's a lot denser filling, but pretty much you can use the exact same designs on one quilt that you can use in another. And I also really want to get out, I want to disengage myself from any kind of step-by-step tutorial with this thing. Express Your Love really is a quilt you can do anything on, and I don't want you to just make an identical copy of what I've done, although that's fine if that's what you want to do. That's not the way I'm going to teach it. And so I'm going to teach these fills on Duchess Reigns and kind of force you, if you're going to follow along, kind of force you to think outside the box and figure out where you want to apply these to express your love, where you want to use them, and play with them. And it's going to be a little bit of more challenging homework, but I think that you can definitely do it. And just remember, this is all free motion. It always works the same, no matter whether you're working on one quilt or another, no matter what size space that you're working in. It's just filling, so the rules of the design is going to remain exactly the same. So as far as the design that we're learning today, I'm stitching a design called Flame Stitch, and this is one of those designs that can change any little thing that you change about it, can change the look and appearance of the design. And the really neat thing about it is that this design can become quite linear in nature if you quilt it a certain way, and that's really the way I'm quilting it right now. Basically, the rule of this design, it's kind of a echoing design. You stitch a wiggly flame shape, you travel stitch and echo. Now if you make those flame shapes really, really long and you stretch them out and make it very curvy and free-form and nice long wiggles, then you're going to get a texture pretty similar to McTavishing, which we learned in a previous video. If you keep the flames very short and kind of in a row, more or less a regimented row of that same shape, same number of echoes, then you're going to get more of almost a layered feather look, layers of feathers like on a bird. And that's really the look that I'm going for. The goddess on this quilt, that's kind of the theme. She has these big feather wings, and I wanted her body to have a texture that was something similar. So let's get on the machine and see how this works. Basically, I'm right here, and I had this really, really narrow space, so I filled that up completely. And now let me teach you the rules of this design. It's very simple. I'm going to stitch up with a very small flame shape, travel stitch a bit, and echo it. I'm going to just do that maybe twice right here. And I've got this narrow space, but it's widening out, so I want to go on ahead and stitch maybe a half of a flame shape right here, wiggle over here, and do the same thing. And basically, I'm just building this up and layering the exact same set of steps together, the exact same set of lines. And basically, I'm going to continue to fill through here as it expands and add more flame shapes as I have space. So I'm just building that one up, wiggle over here. Remember, this is all thread, so you can always travel stitch to get to a space if you run out of room. So things are widening out again. So I think I'm going to put one right here in the middle. And another on the side right here. So right now I have 3 across. And you can hear how quiet my machine is running. This is my new 8900, so part of that is how quiet this machine is in general. Okay, and then some nice flame shapes right in between. Wiggle on down here, and you can see how this really looks like a repeating pattern. They're almost stitched, not necessarily in rows, but kind of giving that effect. And I don't want these to get too long. I definitely want to keep kind of a small feathered effect through this area. It's very tight stitching. And I wanted that. I want a lot of thread texture where there's thread, and I want a lot of open spaces, like over these trapuntoed feathers. That's really the only areas that are going to be kind of allowing the fabric color to show through. you know, you can go through and build up the thread a little bit if you need to. But you can see I'm just basically building these up and creating V shapes between them, and then working inside each of the V's and adding more. And like anytime that I see a space that's particularly open, you know, you could leave that, or you could go in and fill it just like that. I'm not being too picky with this, but at the same time, if I step back and see a hole where the lines are not quite as close together, I might go back in there and fill it. It's really the difference between a show quilt and something that I'm not planning on showing. I'm a lot more nitpicky about this than I would be basically a typical wall hanging that, you know, I just plan to hang on my wall in the living room. With this, I do plan on showing her, so I'm being a little bit more nitpicky about the filling, and you know, every once in a while I'll just stop and take a look at it and make sure it's progressing the way I want it to. I might even wiggle down and come back in here and just fill that with a smaller flame shape, just simply because it kind of breaks up the texture a little bit, and it's pretty much the only open space within that area. So I hope you can see that filling flame stitch can work in many different ways. You can work this very freeform, take the same rules and make everything long and wiggly. In this situation, I'm stitching it very regimented. I'm forming the flames kind of in a repeating pattern, wiggling in there and forming another set of flames in the V shapes that the set before created. I'm also filling this very densely, and I'm making sure that I'm not leaving any noticeable gaps open. I might even wiggle back down in that area and fill it, simply because I want the texture of this quilt to be very solid. It's just really one of those kinds of things that I enjoy sharing with you, because it's a different mentality working on a show quilt than it is for anything else. Certainly wouldn't bother doing this on a bed quilt. You know, the more open a bed quilt is, the better it is, because it's softer. For a show quilt, what I'm going for, this thread is more like paint, and you wouldn't leave a canvas with, you know, spots open with no paint on them. So I'm going to make sure that as I fill through this entire area, she's filled consistently, she's filled completely, and that the flame stitch really does look like the feathers of her body. So that's kind of the idea. That's the purpose of the texture in this situation. So I hope you have a really good time playing with flame stitch on your quilt. Definitely show off and link up with us on Fridays and show us how you use it in the Express Your Love quilt or any other project you plan to use it with. Link up with us, find lots of other videos on both Express Your Love and Duchess Reigns at freemotionproject.com. Until next time, let's go quilt.